Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, a very good evening. Let me welcome you on behalf of the delegation of Prague to the European Union at the Prague House tonight. We are very glad we can host another edition of this Science Café event, first one in the year 2025, and we are also glad that we can be among main organizers together with the representation of the South Moravian region to the European Union. And other two partners, Czech Liaison Office for Education and Research and also Slovak Liaison Office for Research and Development. Over the years, as we organize this series, we've already discussed a variety of topics connected with science, and tonight's topic will be Women Share Science. So our guests will share with us their experience, challenges and opportunities for women in the scientific sphere. The event will be moderated by Aleš Vlk, and you are very welcome to take active part in it by asking questions or giving out comments. Feel free to join. And so at this moment, I will give the floor to my colleagues and the moderator to further introduce everyone. And once this formal part is over, we will be happy to invite you for a glass of wine, and you can also enjoy seeing our exhibition downstairs in the gallery, Voynich Flower Bed by young Czech painter Klára Sedlo, which we are just closing on Friday, so it's one of the last opportunities to see it. So have a nice evening at the Prague House and enjoy. And now I give the floor to Lenka.
Thank you. I would like to thank you mostly for welcoming us again in Prague House. But as was already mentioned, my name is Lenka Procházková and I'm head of Czech Liaison Office for Education and Research here in Brussels. I'm delighted to welcome each of you to our first Science Café of this year. Tonight we celebrate the International Day of Women and Girls in Science, along with science itself and women who dedicate their work to making science engaging, understandable and relevant. Science communication is the bridge between scientific knowledge and the public, helping us to better understand the world around us. And we are here today to present to you some of interesting and effective science communication tools created by these three inspiring women that help explain science to the public. But before we kick things off, I would like also to give a thank you to our event partners, the representation of the South Moravia region to the EU, the Prague House, and of course the Slovak Liaison Office for Research and Development. Now let's give a warm welcome to our moderator of the evening, Aleš Vlk. Aleš graduated from sociology at Charles University and completed his PhD in the Netherlands, focusing on higher education policy. He founded and ran for 5 years an online portal, vědavískum.cz, covering various aspects of science policy. Together with 3 other authors, he published a book on science communication, and since 2022, he has held the position of Vice Dean for External Relations and Development at the Faculty of Physical Education and Sports, Charles University. So now, Aleš, the floor is yours.
Lenka, thank you very much for the welcome. I wanted to introduce myself. Thank you for introducing. Dear ladies and gentlemen, welcome here. And just one question, can you be with us till 8 o'clock? Is that okay? So we will start the wine tasting at 8 o'clock. Is that okay? Can you manage that? Fine. Okay. The weather is very ugly outside. So I think we are very happy that we are inside. That's the thing. And one more background of me, that I was working in Brussels also in my previous life. So I kept remembering some streets, but it was already 20 years ago. And I enjoyed March, April and May working here for the European University Association, and it didn't rain at that time. So now I'm actually coming back to the real Brussels weather and everything, but I was also here in the Prague's house in that time, as far as I remember. So that's from me. And also Lenka asked me to take part in the very competitive call for the moderator of this evening. So there were, I think, 3 conditions, 3 parameters. First one was male. That was okay. So 235 males actually took part in the competition. The second criterion was that it should be someone over 50, because we have also this age policies. I said, I'm 52, that's fantastic. And the third one, can you make it to Brussels? On that particular day, I was the only one left, so that's why I'm here. Thank you very much. So, and the reason why our guests are here is obvious. So, because we talk about women share science, and we have from the right side, we have Teresa Ormsby, then we have Lucia Ziegler, and we have Vendula Lužná. So please, warm welcome to our guests. And I think what's the most fascinating thing that the Czech and Slovak are again coming together, which I think it's fantastic. So we have 2 people from the Czech Republic, 1 from Slovakia, and these Czech and Slovak are even close friends together. So what a coincidence. So please, we will start with Teresa. Teresa, just shortly, your background, because all these biology, chemistry, and everything, I would make a mistake. So please tell us, what is your background?
Hello, everyone. So I studied biochemistry at Charles University in Prague, and then I did my PhD in Heidelberg, and my PhD is in immunology and biomedicine, but I'm not a doctor. I'm a scientist, so I can say how things work, but I cannot tell you how to treat you. And now I work at the Institute of Organic Chemistry and Biochemistry in Prague as a scientist. And as a sidekick hobby, I do some science communication.
Excellent. Are you happy?
Yes.
Oh, okay, you look happy. That's excellent. So, Lucia, I think it will be something about Heidelberg as well, huh?
Yes, that's true.
What
so
a
I
coincidence.
actually spent 11 beautiful years in Heidelberg. That's when I met Terka. So I did my PhD at EMBL in a group working on gene regulation. So I'm a molecular biologist by training. And then after my PhD in Heidelberg, I worked there for 6 years in the same lab because I liked it so much. And then I had a short break. And now I'm working in Vienna at the Austrian Institute of Technology, also in the field of molecular biology. But now it's not basic research as it was in Heidelberg, but it's applied research. So I work in the field of molecular diagnostics and personalized medicine.
I mean, you told us something, in a better way than I would. And Vienna, you like Vienna?
I can't complain, yes.
Very nice city,
Yes,
as the same
no
as
complaints.
Brussels.
Better weather. We have
Better weather. Okay,
yes.
excellent, excellent. So thank you very much.
Sunny.
Vendula, your background, because you are also from natural sciences, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I've never been in Heidelberg. Yeah, good evening, everybody. I'm also a molecular biologist, and I did my PhD in chronobiology, which is the science about our internal clock. So if you ever heard about these owls and larks, when you prefer waking up early or late, that's the science that I was studied.
Excellent. And have you been in Brussels before?
No.
This is your first time?
Yeah.
And do you like it so far?
Yeah, I forgot to take my umbrella, so...
Next time you will take it.
Yeah,
I'm
definitely.
Sure. I'm sure. Okay, so that was just the first round, your background. You said it very well. And then we will start with Teresa. And please, can you introduce a bit your project which you are currently involved in? And then we have also our presentation. It works.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of this beautiful initiative, Ask a Scientist, where we are trying to be like a platform where people can ask questions to scientists, and we find experts in the particular field and let them answer the question. And we started during COVID, and I personally thought that the project is going to die with COVID, that people won't be interested. But suddenly people started asking all kinds of questions about planets, about animals, but also from social science and history. And yeah, the project kicked off. So now we started as 10 people, and now we have over 400 members. We have answered 1,260 questions as of yesterday, it's beautiful. We also do live events and debates, and we also published a book which I brought. So if anyone wants to have a look, it will be available here. And also, we have a very beautiful merch that I would like to give you as a little gift from Ask a Scientist.
Okay, thank you very much. It's too early. But thank you very much indeed. Excellent. So we will go to Lucia.
Thank you. So I'm communicating science through visual art, even though I think art is maybe a bit too strong a word. I have a profile on Instagram. It's called Kreslím vedu, which means in Slovak, I'm drawing science, but I'm actually really bad at drawing. So it's more about graphical design and data visualization. And this is something actually I have been quite actively involved already during my scientific career, during my PhD. So scientists also have to communicate science visually, or they should. It's often actually underused, I believe. And then it was also during COVID, as you can see in the background, when I had the urge to start to communicate science also to lay audience. And because I was already skilled by doing this visually, I thought I would do this also outside of the world of science, but to the lay audience. And Instagram was a great platform to use, just because it was visual and also because there is a really good contact with the audience. So it's very interactive, which I really enjoyed, and I enjoy it until today. So my profile is still active. I don't have, unfortunately, so much time anymore because I started to work in the meantime full-time again. But I have been also invited to many events, for example, like today. I also go to podcasts, for example. I also made a few workshops about scientific literacy and visual literacy as such. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And Vendula, what you are currently working on?
Yeah, like my current position is at the Palacký University in Olomouc, where I'm like a chief of science communication, which is also maybe quite big because I'm just one. Yeah, but I started at this position in October previous year when it was established there, and my role is to connect the scientists with the journalists and to train the scientists how to communicate their science to the broad public, and also do some debates and videos about science and so on.
My question to you is that because when I founded the Věda Výzkum CZ 5 years ago, you were not there. Then I left and you joined. Are you still in touch with the portal?
Yeah, I am. I worked there for 1 year, and today they published my last article about women in science and why they leave the science, which was my long-term like a project when I collected the answers from the women, and now I had like the opportunity because of today to publish that article.
That will be my next question. Don't worry, because I read the article. So okay. So this was the first round. I will take 2 more questions from the ladies, and then even if you feel free to ask anything, so you can just jump in. So I always ask you whether you have some questions, so we can start asking. You know, it will not be 60 minutes just asking me, but you can anytime you can join in. So it's no problem. My next question is, actually, what really was your motivation? Because you are a scientist, that's the first by profession, and usually people do not have time to do communication. Usually, they really focus on the scientific work. It's a very competitive world, but I mean, and especially for women. We will go into the issue of kids later on. So what was your motivation and why did you decide to actually to go a bit into science communication? Why it was so important for you?
So social media are social media, and we know what kind of debates there can be. And I felt very frustrated because I tried to correct the information, but there was just such an overflow, and I felt alone in it, and it felt useless to do it, basically. And then my friend Christina came up with this idea, how about if we organize ourselves and we do it together? And that made a huge difference, because suddenly I wasn't alone. I had 10 other people that were helping, and we could spread the frustration and we could spread the joy. And suddenly people were telling us, what you are doing is amazing. And then students that work with us told us, I finished PhD only because of you, because you showed me that science actually matters, because we could communicate with people thanks to your project. And so science communication is very important, and it's very difficult to combine it with normal scientific work. But Ask a Scientist gives a platform for people to participate at least a little bit and get some training. So I think that's how it was.
Because it's really demanding. It's really demanding, and for you, would it give you more energy than the scientific work itself? Because some people are happy in the lab themselves alone, and they have their own world, and that's enough for them. That's, you know, their life. So you're not such a person.
I used to be like that.
Okay.
I was like, when girls first approached me, I was in this very, very like disillusioned place, and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. It's like I don't have time. You know, I have too many projects. No, and kids. And they were just, but you would be great. And I was like, okay, I will try. You will answer only a few questions here and there. And then the project grew. And yeah, it's basically thinking any of my free time, I spent working on Ask a Scientist. In tram everywhere, I'm working whenever I can. And then sometimes I have to take a break to have some personal time. But
5 minutes.
5 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Okay, Lucia?
Yes, so for me it was very similar with the frustration. So I also started during the COVID pandemics, when I just had the impression I have to do something to fight all the misinformation and the misunderstanding of science that was going on in Slovakia. And it was also quite a good timing, because I was at the maternity leave, extended maternity leave, so I kind of had the capacity and time to deal with science communication. And also, to be honest, actually, I didn't really think about it too much. It was rather a spontaneous decision to do this. And now when I look backwards, I feel it's really brings very many advantages to scientists when they communicate science. So it's really, for example, improving soft skills such as public speaking. So this is something that I would consider my weakness. And thanks to science communication, I'm now exposed to also media, for example, or to the public. And also, for me, it's also very satisfying. As you said before, for some people, it's enough to do the science, but science can be also very frustrating at some moment. It's usually the ups and downs, and this kind of compensates the satisfaction and the fulfillment when you don't have it in the lab at the moment. And also for me, it gave me basically a different or a new perspective of science. And what it means to do science, how science works, what it means to maybe think like a scientist, and what the others could learn from us. So for me, it was really like opening a completely new world.
My question, you do it in Slovak?
I do it in Slovak only.
Okay, so you have been living abroad?
At the moment.
Okay.
I was in Slovakia actually, living.
In
at
that
the
time you
moment,
were in
yes,
Slovakia.
yes.
Okay,
When I
okay.
started, I was living in
Okay,
Slovakia, and
okay.
then I left to go in.
So you care about the Slovak
Yes, I do,
scientific system?
That's also actually one reason, because I was very frustrated by not being able to do science in Slovakia, and then I realized I don't actually have to be physically in Slovakia to help Slovakia. So.
But it's getting better.
It's getting better. I don't know what you mean now. What's getting better?
Everything is getting better.
I guess that's a different topic.
Okay. I didn't want to. I wanted to make a joke one today, but actually, okay.
We can say it's getting
We can
better.
after 8 o'clock we can discuss what is getting better. Okay. Wendy, why science communication? Why not being closed in the lab, concentrating on your hard data?
Yeah, because I was in a lab which was founded by Helena Ilnerova, which is the first chronobiologist in the Czech Republic. And in this lab, it was like a habit to communicate science because the topic was, people like it, sleep and, light. They like to ask about it. Everybody sleeps, hopefully. So it was really like a habit to go to these, veletrh or Week of Brain, and to communicate science there to the broad public. And then when I was pregnant and then had a baby, it was like a easiest choice to do, like to intellectually, live. Somehow so the science communication was the easiest way to do something intellectually, and I also joined Ask the Scientist at the time. Yeah,
Because what I have observed, especially in the Czech Republic, that they are the ladies, the women, that they have been currently more involved in science communication, because they're like Pavla Hubalkova, all these people, not only her, but some other. So I think maybe it is a kind of really alternative. It would give you different view. It would make it a bit easier. Maybe you can do it more easily during your maternity leave. Is that kind of a alternative to the hard scientific career?
yeah, definitely. When I wrote the article, I collected like many women which do science communication, and they started during their maternity leave, because when you communicate science, you can write, and it's something you can do in a night, or just for a few hours when the baby sleeps, or somebody takes care of the kids. So that's really like the good possibility to do something during the time.
Who takes care about the kid
Right now?
during the day? Right now, by the way.
Now. Yeah, my mom right now, because they're taking him to mountains. So like 30 minutes ago, they take him from my husband, and they are going to the mountains.
Are you nervous?
No.
No.
You're never nervous when your mother takes care of your children, right?
I am nervous
You do.
when my mother is when my mother-in-law is taking care of my kids. I am very nervous, I have to say.
Yeah.
But it's okay. How about just I will stay with you. You have one kid so far.
Yeah.
And is it really some kind of a barrier still in the Czech environment as a scientist to have kids, to do the maternity,
Yeah, as I feel it is because it really depends on environment in a lab and on your PI when you get pregnant. The position they take during your pregnancy is the thing which then either encourage you to continue and to go to the lab even during having really small baby, or he will just dismotivate you to continue in the science. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it's very hard to find like a care for the children when they are really small. Then the gap is bigger. Then it's harder to apply for the grants. All these things are getting better, but still, when you change something, you have to wait a few years. Then the numbers will increase. So yeah, I think that's the biggest. Problem for the women.
challenge. We call it the challenge.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, the biggest challenge.
Okay, thank you. Lucia, you have 3 kids.
Yes, I do.
How have you managed? That's my question.
With difficulties. It also has been a challenge for me, and I'm still struggling. So I always have the impression it's about sacrifice. So it's always about bringing sacrifice, either for the family or for the science. So it's always like trying to find this balance between the both and trying to make it work somehow. And it has been always very, very difficult at different levels and in different ways, but always.
And what is the most important thing? Is it, for example, the partner who is really...
Yes, so this is important. So the support of the partner and the whole family, I would say, and also maybe some kind of a Also the support from the group leader, as you mentioned. So luckily I always had this, but I know it's not always the case. And for me, it was, in my experience, it was always about extremes. So I either was back in the lab after 2 months after the birth, or I took really long leave, and I would probably try to avoid this in the future if I could do it again. So I would maybe try to somehow make it more work in a different way, for example, with part-time, even though part-time in general it's hard to do in science, but maybe there would be other ways how this could work
So
better.
the first kid already would go in a different way?
This is out of
You're
question.
done.
We can say theoretically.
You're done.
I'm done, yes.
Okay. But Vendula is not done yet. You have just one kid. Okay, so she's not done.
I am done.
If
I
you
know.
say you never know,
I know I'm done.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Teresa, 2 kids?
Yeah, I have 2 boys.
Oh, so that's a different story. That's not 2 kids, that's 2 boys.
Yeah, they are 10 and 12. They were born during my postdoc. And it was very hard because I worked in the USA and maternity leave doesn't exist there. So I was on maternity leave where basically the employer only paid my health insurance, but otherwise I wasn't getting any pay. And it was for 3 months. So whenever I compare this to the Czech system, it's a completely different story. And my experience as a young mother was very difficult and very challenging. And right now I raise my boys on my own. Their father moved away, and so fortunately they are big enough to be self-sufficient in a lot of ways, but it's still very difficult to manage. But there's also a lot of love, always. Like kids are amazing. They take a lot of time and care, but at the end they made me a better person. I wouldn't change anything about it. I think they made me a better scientist because I had to learn how to work more efficiently, because for the limited time I had to do the same amount of work. And I think that motherhood is definitely penalized for scientists. So whenever the employer can provide opportunities for women to come back after maternity leave, that's where women start coming back. But if we don't make the environment friendly for them, for mothers, then they will not come back and do the science.
But I think in your current position, in your current institute, I think they are kind of, friendly in that attitude. They are very supportive in the institute, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Institute of Organic Chemistry and Biochemistry is absolutely amazing, and my boss as well. We have and actually Adela Shimkova, who is one of the co-founders of Ask a Scientist. She had 2 kids during her PhD. She finished her dissertation, and a week later she gave birth to a baby, and then she graduated just some months ago with 2 kids, 2 little kids. And it's possible to do it, and it's possible to do it thanks to financial help and thanks to providing flexible hours and all kinds of support. And we are lucky, yeah.
We know that we have kids at a similar age. I wouldn't say they are self-sufficient. But
well,
okay.
Compared to how they were when they were 3 years old.
Okay, that's okay. Yes. Okay. I cannot imagine them making everyday breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and still time. Okay, so yeah. I'm happy. Okay, let's go back to science communication. Okay, what do you see as the biggest challenge in science communication today in the Czech Republic or in Slovakia or in general?
So I think I will talk from my experience.
Okay.
For me, it was finding how to talk understandably, because scientists have their own language, and we think people understand us, but figuring out that people don't, and that I cannot use terms, that I really have to speak differently, was a big surprise to me, and something that I had to learn the hard way. So I think one is the skill what is important to teach young scientists and all scientists to tell them how to do it and what is needed and what kind of skills you need to develop. That's one thing. The other thing is I think support from the institutions, because we do this in our free time. We do this not during work hours. We are not paid for it, and sometimes you cannot even put it on like these evaluations that we have to do. It's not recognized as some important things that you do. So I think these are big problems.
So you mean that the science communication, the way you communicate science into public mainly, is not valued in the institution, not even in the Institute of Chemistry and Biochemistry?
No. For us,
think
it's we are exception. But
that's
I
what
think
that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Yeah, but
in general,
generally, I think this is a struggle. When we talk to people in the PR of other institutes in the Academy of Science or in at the university, this is where people struggle. They are told, you shouldn't communicate science because you need to be in the lab and you need to do experiments. And science communication, no, this is not for you.
okay. And at the same time, you should finish your article because you are actually wasting your time when talking to TV or talking to these people.
Yeah.
Is that something like this?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's undervalued, and but it's ridiculous because we need to make public interested in what we are doing, and we are gonna do that by talking to them and by talking to them in their language so we can understand each other. And then if the public is interested in what you are doing, you are more likely to get paid for what you are actually doing.
And do you think it's getting at least a bit, better? I think I can see the development. It used to be much worse, but now it's getting better, at least at some institutions.
I think that COVID really wake us up, and there are lots of initiatives that like suddenly young people are getting interested and they see the value in it, and they are changing the environment. So there are more people communicating science in a good way.
Lucia, the biggest challenge from your, not the problem, the biggest challenge from your perspective.
So in my perspective, the challenge is to basically gain back the trust of people in science. And I think one of the ways is to communicate the science, but maybe the question is not how much, but how to communicate the science. And I'm a believer in convincing or teaching people how science works. So basically, I believe that science should be communicated in a way for the audience or for the lay audience to understand how, for example, the results were gained rather than just stating the results. And this is what I call scientific literacy, or what people call scientific literacy. And I believe this is one of the roles or challenges of science communication, that this is how science could be communicated, and it can be definitely done better. And another thing that I also believe in is also, or that I see as worthy, is sharing basically what it means to be a scientist. And I also see that people are really interested in this. So for many people, it's hard to really know, or it's hard to understand what scientist does, what it looks like, what a regular day in the life of a scientist looks like. And I see on Instagram, when I share also my personal life to quite a big extent, I see that this is really something that is very interesting for people. And I also know from my own experience, when I was thinking as a student about what I want to do in future, I had no idea what scientists do. I had really zero idea. And I'm hoping that by showing also and sharing the part of my personal life, I would also maybe help to motivate the students and maybe to also be more ready for the future and what's waiting for them if they decide to be a scientist.
That was actually already in the 60s, in 70s, if I'm not mistaken, when the science communication actually started, because they discovered that apart from South Korea and Japan, people were less interested in mathematics, in chemistry, and all these topics. They were too difficult for them, and nobody would do the science in the future. And if we want to have a technical development and ITs and everything, we wouldn't have those people to work on that. So still, do you see this as a main challenge also to attract young people into these, let's say, more difficult subjects, because I mean, you know, nature sciences, chemistry, math, physics, it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's not easy, that's true. I believe that by showing the personal life and, for example, how much satisfaction you can get from being a scientist is definitely one of the ways how you can attract people. And I hope people can sense this passion for science from my profile and from my work, from the way I communicate the science. And I really hope that this is something that could motivate them. Yes.
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
Right now I have around 15,000.
Oh, this is...
Which is for Slovakia,
Is it
okay.
okay?
I think maybe that's my limit.
Uh-huh.
Let's see.
I have 15, so it's
Okay.
it's much better.
I have a bit more.
I do. But I'm not drawing this. Okay, Vendela, the biggest challenge already. You are already now working as a chief communicator of an institution. So
Yeah, and also the Palacký University is in Olomouc, and like the students and employees of the university is like 1/5 of the all people in Olomouc. So it's really like the city of the university. But also, and still many people have no idea what we are doing inside of these buildings. Like the whole city is full of university buildings, and they have no idea what we are doing there. So like my main goal is to really like to take science like to the broader public as it's possible. And it's also, for me, it's very important because many times when you open the newspapers or like a scroll in a news, there's like politics, then there's sport, then there's weather forecast, and science is somewhere at the bottom very often. So and also like the journalists, there are journalists, and then there are like a science journalists, like a special, you know, journalists. So like my ultimate goal is to get science like in a news where the science would be at the first place in the news, and like get people to know that science is everywhere and everything is about science, which really need really good scientists who can communicate science, and that's also my goal.
So you are at the university, you are responsible for communicating science, then you have the faculties, you have these big egos, male egos, you know. And what is the biggest barrier? Are you facing, or is everybody happy that you approach them and say, I would like to talk to you, I would like to sell you to the... Are they happy, all of them?
It depends. Like the first step is to you work with the ones who are happy to work and communicate science, just to encourage them, help them, you know, make it better for them. And then sometimes it's more and more frequent in projects that they have to like popularize science. They do this dissemination, it's called. And then they wrote the project and they write there something about science communication, and then project is getting to the end and they, oh, I have to communicate science, how to do that? And at that time they approach me and like, solve this, what can I do? And I don't want to go to the TV, I don't like that, I don't have time for that. So this is really a challenge to get scientists to know that they are responsible to the public, which is paying for them, for their work. They're paying the science to say the public what they are working on. Yeah.
Do you see the age differentiation? Can you see that those younger or who were born later, to put it in a politically correct way, are more willing to, you know, talk about their results and share and, you know, do some popularization, rather than those who were born a bit earlier?
Yeah, I do. I think that these like older or senior scientists, as it's
That's the word.
yeah,
sorry.
that's the word. Like,
More
there's a
experienced
junior
senior
scientist
scientists.
and there's
Yes.
a
yes.
senior scientist.
Okay.
It wasn't so much a habit. So very often when they try to communicate science or popularize, their like colleagues make fun of them, or they you know that's the really that's really important, that not always like the scientific environment around them is happy that they communicate science and in a way that they do it. So yeah, I see that the younger ones are more willing to do it. It's also has to do something with the social media, definitely, that they are more like familiar with sharing and talking about everything. And when they are scientists, they like to share the science. Yeah.
Because what Teresa said, you said make it understandable, but at the same time, I would call it the peer pressure, because the most important environment for the scientists are your colleagues. So you want to be valued well by your colleagues. If the public says you're fantastic and your colleagues say you're not fantastic, it's a problem. It's not a challenge, it's a problem. You know, it's a problem for the scientists because it's about ego and all these kind of things. So, but they take it as a simplification rather than making it understandable. So sometimes they say, please do not make it simple because you are actually losing the scientific part of the science. Is that the kind of challenge you were talking about?
Yeah.
To find the balance, what is still science and what is like popular but still scientifically sounded, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. This was really my struggle, because I feel like I need to say everything and I need to be as precise as possible with all the little details, and figuring out that sometimes the details are not the important thing, that the bigger picture is what is actually important and what is gonna stay in people's minds. And going through this barrier and finding the balance, I'm still finding it. I'm sure that if now I am correcting most of the text that we produce. So I'm more like an editor. So I see it, and it actually teaches me how to do it better. And yeah, I have to agree that when we have more senior and advanced scientists, it's more challenging to work with them, because they often are very, they like the things the way they are saying it, and they don't like to be told that, maybe if we change these words just a little bit, it's gonna be better for the understanding. And it's sometimes they fight back with us, and they're like, no, it has to be this way. And we're like, no, really? You know, this is what our editors that are not scientists are telling us. Let's do it this way. Yeah, so I definitely see the difference there.
Can you also see the difference among the disciplines? Can you see there are more conservative disciplines, and also some maybe social sciences and humanities might be more liberal in that respect, or not?
I definitely see that we communicate very differently. The language that science, like chemistry, biology, and physics are using is different from social science or philosophy. And sometimes I have to think twice what they are trying to say, and I bet that they have to do the same thing when I am trying to talk. So yeah, finding that the same word can actually mean very different things for a philosopher and for a natural scientist was very surprising to me. Yeah.
And is some discipline which, apart from your own discipline, which you like the most?
I think I like philosophy. Yeah, I really am not able to think like them, but I really like reading it, and I'm just amazed. And psychology and philosophy.
Very well. Lucia, do you see the discipline differences between, or still?
Not really. Well, I popularize only what I'm good at, so it's usually biology. I try to stay in the field that I'm familiar with, just because it is what was mentioned here. It's really a challenge to find the right balance between the simplification and the scientific truth or the scientific facts. So I try to stay in my field. And now I'm actually lucky enough to work in applied research, which is very easy to popularize, because I work in personalized medicine, which is like very, very cool and maybe sexy now. So it's very easy. But on the other hand, when I was doing my basic research before, like from the scientific perspective, it was much more exciting and much more successful and powerful, but that was extremely hard for me to communicate. And I actually hardly ever talk about my previous research, even though I was, as I said, it was much more successful and for me much more exciting. But it's really hard because it was really basic research with no direct application. And for me, that was really a challenge to communicate.
To put it in the right way, have you experienced any objections from your colleagues that you are simplifying the science?
Well, here I'm really lucky because my colleagues don't speak Slovak. So I have a very clear separation between my scientific career and my communication career. So
that's good.
I have no experience.
Okay, but let's put it in another way. Have you experienced any objection from those who are in Slovakia, following you, commenting on you, and they are not your colleagues?
No, not really. I sometimes, actually, it bothers me because we have this saying that you know that you do it well when somebody's criticizing your work. So sometimes I like, where are all the haters? Why I don't get any hate? So sometimes I'm thinking maybe I'm doing something wrong. But actually, I'm not getting any feedback. Yeah, but I guess I know. I have to say, first, when I was starting, I had also a profile on Facebook, and this I actually cancelled very quickly.
It doesn't exist anymore, Facebook?
No, it was just a few weeks.
50 plus?
This was too many, but I wouldn't call it a criticism, what I was getting there. It was a different sort of feedback.
And how have you gotten those 15,000 followers? Who are they?
Yeah, this I also wonder many times. I know.
So 3 kids, husband.
This came very naturally.
That's 5.
Yeah, I think maybe somebody from marketing could really make a study on this because it's also amazing to me because I didn't put so much effort into this. So I don't think too much about what I'm doing. I don't follow the statistics. I have zero idea how Instagram works, really, how the algorithms work. So very little, but it was mainly about, I guess, sharing, word to word. And then
so how are you getting the feedback? Also through the other actions from the other events?
From my audience, from my followers, yeah. And I know I'm followed by many specialists, so it's not completely lay audience what I have there. I have many scientists or future scientists following me. I have many doctors, so often I get a nice feedback from doctors that I help them maybe to understand the scientific part a bit better, and so on. So I usually get positive feedback.
Mm-hmm. So the floor is yours. Fantastic. So we have the microphone there.
Thank you. Astrid Schwarzenberger from the German contact point, Women into EU Research. We've already heard that it may well play a role which age or which level of seniority somebody is and how comfortable they feel communicating about their science in terms adequate for the respective public. Now, I'm wondering also about the receiving end of the science communication and the split there in terms of which media the audience prefers, be that social media or the internet, or maybe also newspapers. And I would suppose that that does make a difference also in terms of their age. And also linked to that question is my assumption that Vendela, that is a question especially to you because I gathered that you would be in contact with journalists. Now, that's a sort of an indirect science communication, I guess, because you first need to convince the journalist to make this a good story, hope that they're not making mistakes in what they're communicating, and thus possibly, reaching a broader, probably a slightly elderly public, I guess. So I was wondering how to deal with these two issues. Thank you.
Yeah, the approach which I'm trying is that I have a scientist with some topic, and I'm thinking about the type of media which it would suit the best. If there's something which can show, what we can show visually, then the TV would be interested. When there's nothing to show like attractive, because it's mathematics or I don't know, politology, Then it would be probably for the newspapers. Then we also have some like videos on Instagram for the younger people. So we always trying to reach the specific audience and the specific journalists according to the topic. Yeah, it really depends, and it's very hard. And I think that that is the core of this success, to get the scientists from your institution to the media to think about it, and not to send everybody the same thing, but personalize it as the personalized medicine. So yeah, do it this way, if it's enough for you.
And the second question was, you are really split into the audience. So it's someone, the younger generation, which is only on social media, and the older one, let's put it that way, who can still read. Maybe they can still read the newspapers. They can still actually print out the things and have papers. I still have the paper, you know. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, we are just trying, you know, we have some topic and we somehow use it on the social media, and somehow we are sending it to the classical media, let's say. And you know, speaking of this, like a split between the ages, let's say, it's interesting because universities logically are really very often they are speaking to the young public because they want new students. But also we were thinking about this, the older audience, all the older people, how to reach them, because we see there's a quite huge number of people believing in some disinformation. So we want to somehow reach this, and we want to, during our AFO, which is Academia Film Olomouc Festival in April, have the panel discussion where we want to, elucidate how to communicate with like a senior public also.
Lucia, what is your view on the different, actually, group?
The age, yeah. So because I'm on Instagram, so logically it's mainly the young people that I target, and I often feel I'm like a senior on Instagram, even though skill-wise, of course, I'm not. So, but I definitely perceive this bias towards young people. But because I said before, also I want to motivate maybe the students and want to show how my life looks, and that I'm just a regular person and I have the same worries as anybody else usually. I think this is something that's quite matching my goals.
I think it's easier, and it's actually not so costly to use the social media in communication. But still, do you believe in the role of classical media?
I do, yeah. And I think the classical media do have also a responsibility and a task to communicate science to audience, definitely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Teresa?
Yeah, so this generation split is definitely something that we are thinking about in Ask a Scientist a lot. And we, at about a year ago, maybe longer, we were approached by this magazine 100+1, 100+1 česky. And in every, they are publishing our questions and answers in a very short article, but it's there. And this is something that grandmas and grandpas are reading. So that's one thing that we managed to do, and it's an amazing collaboration. Then we had a very successful answer about pasta, how to cook pasta, and that there are bigger pasta and smaller pasta, and if you cook them together, the smaller pasta somehow gets into the larger pieces of pasta. And I thought that this is like this, there is no literature. How could we research this? But my colleagues, they thought this is great and funny, and this is a great way how to show how science works. So they took it seriously, and they wrote an amazing answer. And we were approached by Blesk, that's just like a Czech version of British Sun, and this made it into Blesk on the front page. So yeah. we are trying. We are trying to also go into the regions around our borders where science literacy is lower and there's a lot of misinformation going on, and we are trying to do presentations and talk to the public directly, do debates. So we are reaching out and finding new ways. We also want to do videos and things like that.
Maybe two more comments if I can. We can give the microphone, but I will tell you one comment. We have the Czech TV, very strong, actually science part of the Czech TV, and they say that on their website the articles on science are one of the most read. So it's really, people are interested in the Czech Republic to read about the discoveries and all these things, which is very interesting. And when we found the portal, so there was a print icon on the website, and the programmers told us, please, nobody is printing anything anymore. Don't use the print icon, it's useless. I said, please leave it there, because the scientists which are reading our portal are maybe the only group which is still printing and reading those things on paper, and they are using the highlighter to do it. And of course they do it. You know, so the scientists and this older generation, I would say 50 plus, because I'm sorry, I have to show you, I'm doing exactly the same, so I'm already there. So they really discovered that they would keep the print icon on the website. And it's the age split. It's really that. But so people are still reading, and maybe the scientists and the researchers are the only group in the public that they are still reading, and they can still read long articles. So that's very interesting. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you for your interventions. It's very inspiring. Now I bring a bit policymaker hat. So I work for Director General for Innovation and Research. And I'm part of we call it gender sector. So we're trying to program policies that will help scientists, but also women innovators to thrive, or at least, you know, in this unequal dynamic to make something better. And soon we'll be designing gender action plan. And we're actually collecting ideas. So maybe you've heard of Horizon Europe funding and the Pillar 1 for Science. So my first question is whether you tried to apply for EU grants and how it went for you. Can we simplify or make something easier for you? And second, do you have any actions, ideas, suggestions that I could take with me for the gender action plan for you as woman, scientist, mother? So yeah, thank you.
So maybe I will start, because with Ask a Scientist we applied for an Erasmus grant and we got it. So that's one of the reasons why we can now organize live events and also workshops where we teach our members the soft skills. And it's amazing, it's really helped us a lot. I think for women, the motherhood is the biggest challenge, to combine it with work. And so anything that can support mothers, like giving them support, financial support for maternity leave or for taking care of the children so they can return to work, that's one of the major differences, I think, and flexible hours. And openness to like, for example, for grant applications, it's really important that motherhood is not penalized, so that when women spend 2 years on maternity leave, this time is not counted into like the limit that she can apply for grant funding, for example.
Lucia, some advices?
Yeah. So I'm actually working on an EU grant right now, so full time. So it's a great project, but I wasn't involved in the application.
So you already got the project.
Yes. So I was hired to work on the project after it was.
Congratulations.
Yeah, no, it's a great project. I really love it. It's scientifically excellent and great. And yeah, I hope we will get some new ones in future once this is over. And to comment on what could be improved, I think I completely agree with Terka. It's mainly the flexibility in the requirements for, or the criteria how the time after, or how the maternity leave is calculated. So, for example, I still often see that there are these time restrictions, so you can apply for a certain position or funding only within, let's say, 5 years after your PhD. And sometimes I feel punished for doing my PhD so quickly. I was really fast with my PhD. I was, I think, 26 when I got my PhD, and then I took my time off for family. And now I feel being penalized for this sometimes. I know it's not always the case. I have no idea how it's done in the EU grants currently, but I still see these rules sometimes, and I'm automatically out because I just don't fulfill this criterion anymore. Even though when it comes to experience, I would be a junior person, but it's still, my PhD was a long time ago, so it's a pity. Yeah. So if this was possible, please, thank you.
Thank you. Wendy?
Well, I think in some grants this already is, but what really would help is that there would be like a spare money for just children care. So you can use them. You know, there is like a money for the chemicals and for your salary, and then there should be some budget which you can use for the nursery or to pay grandma to take care of your children. You know, because very often it is that you are doing science in some city which is far away from your original family, so you don't have like grandmas near to you. So this would really help, some spare money which should be used for taking care of the children.
Sometimes you don't want to use your grandma. Sometimes, but I'm not saying always, but
My mom and my mom-in-law, they are both great, so yeah.
my mother-in-law is fantastic, but however, okay, we have 2 questions.
Hello, thank you. My name is Helena Elliot, and I'm from Stavanger region in Norway. I'm curious to learn whether there are other challenges being a woman compared to being a mother. Very simple question there.
Wow, we're getting there.
Yeah, my article is full of these experiences of women receiving, you know, these sexistic comments. Like, I have my the favorite one is that you should be working in a night instead of ironing, and the woman never thought nothing about ironing, you know. Yeah, so it was her PI told her that. Yeah, and many of these. Do you have any?
Just to remind you, because Vendela, this is the article was published today.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, in Czech, but you can do, and the name of the article is "Women Love Science, Yet They Leave It," and why and where do they leave? So that's actually the article, and that's maybe having some of the answers to this, because we are really facing, you as a female are facing the challenges which really don't motivate you to stay in science, and people are leaving.
Yeah,
as well.
And there's also challenges which are the same for women and men as well, like the finances, the necessity of the mobilities. This is maybe something which is very difficult for the women as well, because very often you have to do your PhD in a different country where you will do your postdoc or something, and if you have babies and the husband, it's very difficult to move somewhere else completely with the whole family. You know, it really you have to have the husband whose job is, you know, like that he can do it somewhere else. So and then you have the kids which have to move to the different country, and this is also something which is not really helpful. Yeah, the necessity to move somewhere else.
I was in one conference when the female speaker, I forgot who was it, said, "Girls, if you want to do the science, the most important thing is your partner." Remember this.
Yeah. Partner in IT. That's the because then he can move with you everywhere.
You see, you have the answer already. So Is it?
That's maybe something which is which is really sad, that every woman, almost every woman which I met and stayed in science said I had luck for the PI or for the husband, and those who didn't, they are not in science anymore, and this is really sad.
Lucia?
Yeah. So I
Any challenges being a woman rather than
yeah,
a
it's a really
mother?
great question. I was lucky, and I never experienced anything. Actually, on contrary, I have always felt kind of being given extra support for being a woman, even in the job application, in the job ad when I was applying for my current job. It said they especially promote women to apply.
And you even change your name in Ziegler,
Yes,
so
I
you don't.
removed
So
this
it,
ova.
otherwise, ova.
Yeah.
You know, left off this ova, not to be
It
female
just makes
anymore.
my life easier abroad without this OBA. But I agree also the mobility is an issue, even though I believe this is disadvantage connected again to the family and so on. But I would also say that we should have data, I imagine. And because I didn't have this personal experience, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But I could imagine in my fantasies that at some places women are still envisioned as maybe less competent than men. And I can imagine this happens at some places. As I say, there must be data out there. And I didn't experience it myself. But I can imagine there are still places where people think women cannot be such a good scientist or as a good scientist or as a good manager, because we're also managers when we get more senior or leader as men. So I can imagine this is an issue.
Still prejudice against you.
Yeah.
Teresa, your optimistic view. That is you.
I was actually going to start with something less optimistic. Yeah, I definitely encountered sexist comments and comments that undervalued my capabilities. One of the sort of cute example was when I talked to people and to media, and the reporter was talking about, there were two men professors. And in Czech Republic, we pay a lot of attention to the titles. So I'm a doctor, but she was talking to the professors as Professor so and so, and then when she asked me questions, she said, "Teresko, tell us." And Tereska is like a version of my name for a little girl. And I was sitting there and I thought, like, okay, I'm not a professor, but also it's not really a good thing to talk to me like this. And it was really strange. So it can happen even from women, and that even women don't realize that they are not very promoting our gender.
And they think they do you a favor. Either way,
yeah,
you know.
and they think that if you
it's familiar, that's nice.
Yeah, and exactly.
So Teresa, please tell us about. And how about you, Professor?
And the funny thing is that I'm not a person. So I did my postdoc and lived for many years in the USA and in Germany, and I'm really not attached to my title. But in the Czech environment, this is weird. So, yeah.
We had another question. Yes, first one and that.
Thank you very much. I'm Alessandro Carano for working in European institutions. I wanted to ask on the particular perspective of women communicating science, because science is supposed to be objective, but given your great examples of women communicating on science, what are, in your views, if any, particular characteristics of you women communicating science that make the message particularly effective on your target audience? Thank you.
Ooh, this is a good question, but difficult. So in Ask a Scientist, we are many women. So and in the leader positions, we have women and one man. No, one man. But I think that maybe there is a little softer language when women talks, and maybe there's a little more funny language when guys talk. So I don't know. I cannot say that because there are so many people that work on the answer in the end. Because we have a person that answers the question, but then we have a reviewer, and we have the editors, and we have the moderators, and they will all tell you, what you should do differently. And so in the end, the answer is a work of many people together that are men and women together. So from my perspective, it's very difficult for me to disentangle the influence of men and women. And also I feel, and maybe I have some prejudice there. So like, I don't think I would be objective in saying that.
What's here?
Yep. So for me, it's also quite a hard question. And I'm trying to think if I would communicate science differently if I was a man. Maybe I wouldn't draw science. I don't know, maybe I would speak science. So this is something that's great about science communication. There are so many different ways how you can do it. And it's really up to you what you choose. And I chose drawing maybe because I don't really like speaking in front of people. And maybe if I was a man, I would be less shy. I don't know. So that's hard to tell. But I really see the benefit of being a woman. That's what I mentioned before, that I also showed this my private life, and that it's really possible to do science and be a woman and also maybe communicate science on top. So I think this is the greatest benefit of me being a woman. And I know this also from the feedback of my audience, from my followers. I have many students, young women in science who want to pursue science and still have many questions how they will manage. And even though I often feel there is nothing really to learn from me in this respect, because as I said, I feel like I'm struggling all the time, they still have the impression they can maybe do it and they can manage if I did, or if I look like I did.
Mm-hmm. I had exactly this question. Why do you think it's important that women are increasingly involved in communicating science? Because I think it's important.
Yeah, I do think it's important, but I'm not sure if I can, find the... I think I know why there are more women right now, and it's all of these, reasons we talked about, that women are more often leaving science and they're looking for something which is connected with science, and it would be, the project managers, which is really like 90% of all project managers in Czech Republic are women. And then there should be this like a quite new way for the scientists, women scientists, and it's the science communication. But I don't know, in as the scientist, we do have women and men as equal, I think. And when we are looking for somebody who should answer the question, we're just looking for the best expert who has time to do that. And it doesn't matter who it is, yeah. And during the debates we have, it's also like a men and women, so yeah.
Maybe the importance for women is because the data shows that only about 30% of the workforce on the top positions in science are women. They are basically leaving. The PhD is equal. In the PhD, the men and women, the number of students is basically equal, but then somehow women disappear. And I think one of the things we need to do as women scientists is to go to schools and show you can do it. Show that women as break the picture of this mad scientist in the lab coat with the hair kind of messy and hairy everywhere, and show that women can do it. And not by saying, hey, I'm a woman and I do it, but saying, look what kind of cool things I do and what I discovered and what is the science that I'm actually working on, and look how interesting it is, and you can do it too. So I think role models.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Interesting. There was another question there, and we are getting slowly to the wine.
Which one?
The winner is those who have the microphone. That's.
Well, hello. My name is Alice. I'm originally from the Czech Republic as well, but now living and working in Brussels. And I have a question that is maybe quite related to what you just said, and it might seem a bit out of left field, but I wanted to ask about your high school experience in terms of your science classes. Because on one hand, it could be just me. I'm coming from a region that has not been very progressive. I'm from the very east of the Czech Republic. I'm from Karviná. And my high school classes, although my high school had quite a good reputation, definitely favored the boys, so to speak, in quite a blatantly obvious way. And I would hope that this has changed over the years, but basically I could see that more effort was spent explaining concepts in science classes to boys versus to us girls, who were sort of like, well, maybe you won't get it anyway, so maybe just focus on other subjects. Maybe that partially contributed to me studying literature, but yeah, it's just I wanted to ask about your experience, and perhaps if things have changed back in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Hopefully they have. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's sad. I'm sorry that you experienced something like that. It's sad to hear. I am hoping that things are changing in the Czech Republic. I graduated in the year 2000, and I was lucky. I studied gymnasium that was the high school that was specialized for science, and our class got young teachers that came just after the school, finishing school, and they had lots of ideas, and they were inclusive. We had labs and everything, and basically, for me it was a good experience. I never experienced that I would be treated differently as a woman. But this is something that definitely needs to be changed, and also the way science is taught in schools, it should be done differently. I think it's not. It should be shown how it is working and how to work with literature and resources rather than memorizing facts.
Lucia, things are getting better in Slovakia.
Actually, yeah, now getting back all my memories from many years ago. Actually, the only time in my career that I heard that science is not for women was at my high school, from my high school teacher. And until the very last moment, actually, I didn't know what I want to do. So I applied for a university where I could choose the major only after the first year. And I applied also for economics. And I was really not sure what I want to do, but luckily I had a brilliant professor at the University of Biochemistry who then decided the path for me. But when I think of my high school times, even though it was an excellent high school, this is what I was told, and this was a long time ago. I very much hope things have improved since then. And that this doesn't happen again. And I would also support the idea that science should be taught differently. And maybe I will advertise at EMBL in Heidelberg. They have a program where classes can visit the labs, and then they get guided tours around the whole institutes, and the kids get to speak to scientists. And I think for me this would be a life changer at high school if I did. So I think this is also one of the ways how to promote science for students.
And in 2 days you can get there from Karviná as well. So it's from Heidelberg. It's closer from Pilsen, but for anybody.
Yeah, I come from Prostějov, which is quite small city, and the only thing which has to do something with science at our high school was that Otto Wichterle studied there, and that's all. All the teachers were women, so we never heard anything like that. But my teacher for mathematics and physics, she was like, all of you are useless, So this was a really, really bad approach. But yeah, I was thinking also about my student years, and I think that the decision to do science was made at the secondary school for me, because I had very good teacher of biology, which was not called biology at that time, it was like Přírodopis or something. Yeah. And she was really good, and she also like pushed me to like use microscope and so on, and also very good teacher for the Czech language. So these two really like shaped my love for writing and doing biology. So I think that it doesn't have to be high school, but any teacher who will plant the seed and let you think about science. That science should be the way for you. It's the good teacher.
Time. The last question. Okay, I just wanted to say that my son is in the 7th grade now. Sometimes I'm looking at the textbooks, and I finished 30 years ago, and this is almost the same textbooks like we had. So what have changed in the Czech education system with all these billions of crowns into the systemic change? I don't know. But the textbooks are almost the same with the Czech words which I don't understand. But people still memorize and do it. But they are exceptions. They are exceptions, and we can see alternative approaches and everything like that more in the high schools, even at some universities. It's amazing, but it's not the Charles University, of course not. This is the oldest, the best, and the biggest. And they are still scientific. But in some universities, colleges, in the regions, they are trying to do alternative way. So we are getting better. I think there is a potential, as we say, absolutely potential. So the last optimistic question about the Moravian wine. Fantastic. When are we going to start tasting the wine? And which wine will it be?
So I think we should start with the red wine, of course. What do you think about that?
Yes, absolutely agree.
Hi, I'm Adela, and I'm still doing my PhD here in KU Leuven, which is not far from Brussels, so it might be a little different than the other questions. But I think every woman who has worked in science has been dealing with the issue of whether she should continue in academia or in industry. I'm not 100% sure about your background, but I was wondering if you think it might be more approachable for women to switch to industry, because we all experience our issues in academia. And unfortunately, from my experience, about 80% of our PIs in our institute are men. You can also see then that in postdocs, mostly are men. In PhDs, as you have mentioned previously, it's still 50-50. So I was wondering if, I'm really excited actually for your article to read it, to see if the women who disappear from science actually move to industry, or what do you think is actually happening there? Sorry, it's not too positive, but I hope it can.
Where are they?
Thank you.
Where are they?
Definitely they are in industry. The problem in Czech Republic in long term is that they haven't been so many places in industry at all. I mean, like in research, there was like this, business positions, but not the research one. It's getting better, definitely. Also, thanks to a lot of spin-offs which IOCB is producing. But yeah, definitely there are women. Also, one of the problems with the Charles University and the education there is that during the masters we had these seminars, and they were people coming from the different labs talking to different topics, and nobody came from the industry, and it's always like the thing that you have to stay in academia, otherwise you failed, and they are not giving you the other possibilities. And then the people from the companies are complaining that the students are not prepared for these positions. They like these qualities, and they have no idea about management and so on and so on. So I think that definitely there should be some improvement, and I think that the women are there, but I don't have numbers for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I actually had to laugh because I'm exactly at the point in my life when I'm dealing with this question, because first I was in academia, I was doing basic research. Now I'm actually at an institute which is half academia, half industry, and it depends on the occasion, maybe what's more advantageous. So when we go to conferences, we are academia because the fees are lower. But for example, when my boss talks about the performance, it's only Excel sheets and numbers. And we have also all these abbreviations that I was told are in the industry. It's very hard for me. And I also feel that going to industry gives you more flexibility, being a woman, that maybe they are not so picky about the age issues, and it's easier to find a job there. But still, my heart calls for academia. So I don't know where I will end up eventually.
Yeah, I'm an unsuccessful application person for industry. I just never. I tried, and I think they very easily figured out that I'm the person that tries to look into the details and figuring out why things don't work and like why they work the way they work. And this is not for industry where you need to be on target and make your deadlines and things like that. So. I stayed in academia and I am happy there because the environment that I work in is great and amazing and supportive. And even though I'm not a PI, I am doing a lot of PI work because of the structure of our team, how it works. And as Vendula said, it's in Czech Republic, the positions in industry there is not so many of them. There's not so many opportunities. What I saw in the US was that equally men and women went to industry after postdoc or after PhD, and I didn't really see a difference there. In Czech Republic, hard to say for me because I'm not in industry. But it's a valuable career option, and maybe the politics in academia are just too much for women to deal with.
Okay, because we are already. I will ask the last question if you don't mind. Okay, so to be on a positive way, I mean, we are Slovaks and Czechs, and still it was an incredibly positive. Come on, because otherwise we would be discussing, and every sentence will start a problem. This is a problem. This is difficult. It doesn't go in the Czech Republic. Very special. It's no. I mean, we were positive and fantastic, and I thank you for that. So now, please, in 2.5 sentences, what's your plan? What do you want to achieve in terms of science communication, life? What do you want to do in next 10 years?
So right now I need to secure funding for my team, so applying for grants. And for Ask a Scientist, I want a sustainable development so that people don't feel overwhelmed, and we need to secure funding as well so that we can pay people for what they are doing, because we are all volunteers. And
so you want to continue with the project?
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely. Lucia, industry person.
Yes. Well, when it comes to science communication, I would quote or paraphrase Elizabeth Blackburn, who said that the greatest secret of science is how much fun it is. So I would say this is my goal. I don't think it should be a secret.
So far, I have been laughing like hell, yeah. I can tell you. Vendula, your big dream, apart from 2 other kids, so you can equal actually Lucia.
Yeah. My goal would be to increase the number of scientists in the media who can communicate science in a way that the public would understand, and that we can avoid the scientists who talk about everything except the science, which sometimes happens, and it's just because they have a space, because they are not other scientists who are willing to talk to the media. So that's my goal, to have so many keen scientists into science communication from the university to make a broader choice for the journalists. And then as Teresa said, that we need to get funding for the Ask the Scientist. So yeah, I'm also fundraiser for the Ask the Scientist, so that would be my goal as well.
They were very decent plans. Yeah, very decent plans, and I'm sure it will happen, everything. I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for being with us and actually listening to my question, also the other question. And thank you very much also to the audience. So big claps for the guests. And now, finally, it's time to say.
Alish, thank you, and please have a look into the back.
Now?
Now.
It's the most important answer that scientists can give you.
Not only the scientists.
Yeah.
I'm telling this to my family every day. Where are you
Now,
coming home?
now you don't have to say it. You can just.
Thank you very much. And now it's actually the reason why we are all here is the Moravian wine.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know all of you are looking forward to wine, but still, I'd like to take a moment to express my sincere appreciation on behalf of the representation of the South Moravian region and the whole Science Café team. First and foremost, thank you to our amazing speakers for sharing their stories and experiences on the role of women in science. Your insights have sparked some great discussions there and certainly given us plenty to think about. A special thanks also goes to our moderator, Aleš, for keeping the conversation engaging and enjoyable for everyone all evening long. We are also grateful to all of you for being here, for your questions and engagement, as your participation is what makes events like this truly meaningful. Finally, my appreciation goes to our organizing partners, with special mention to Cello for their key role in shaping this great event. And of course, a big thank you to Slort and Prague House for collaboration in making it happen. To conclude this evening on a lighter note, I invite you all downstairs to enjoy a glass of fine South Moravian wine from our beautiful region and to continue our conversations in a more informal settings. Enjoy the rest of the evening and let's toast to women in science. Thank you.